another episode of Rags to Riches, the Refined Mind. And today I have got a beautiful set of co-hosts. So, introduce yourself.
My name is Natalia.
Ooh.
I'm Diana.
And I'm Debbie.
So I'm really excited, guys, because it's a special moment. It's a special moment. We'll get into that, but first, I do like to put everyone through a quick fire question. So, are you ready?
No.
Okay. So, what's the most interesting place that you've ever visited? It is meant to be quick fire.
Oh, sorry.
You're putting me.
Glasgow.
Oh, me too. Morocco.
Nigeria.
Okay. What's your go-to karaoke song?
The Boy's Mine.
Chat, I don't do karaoke.
Okay, what's your the song that you
It would
play?
probably be a worship song.
Like
What's the song I like?
it's meant to be quick.
Avalanche.
Oh yeah, that is a.
Yeah, that's
The Lion King.
For real?
I couldn't have heard it.
Circle of Life. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, that is very karaoke.
And what's the most bizarre dream you've ever had?
Bizarre dream? Bizarre.
Yeah.
As in like a real dream, like.
Yeah.
I dreamt I was a boy.
Oh.
Sorry.
That's bizarre, right?
That is.
Oh my God.
I mean, mine's a bit heavy. I mean, trying to be I was attacked by I don't know, like a trans demon. So it was like a lesbian, and then it had like a penis.
Oh wow.
So that was the most bizarre, I would say, because it was.
Oh wow.
I think a dream where I think I fell and there was spiders everywhere.
Oh.
Yeah. And then I woke up and I could still feel them. Yeah, that was.
That gives me
Yeah. I know, right?
Wow.
Straight into prayer.
Yeah. All of them straight to prayer.
Literally. What spiders meant to signify?
It depends.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought it was it's still no.
That's what I was saying. It all
Does it-
I thought it
depends.
was wisdom.
I mean, it was a long time ago, but it was
It
was
depends
frightening.
when you're going into symbolisms, isn't it? Because not everything. Sometimes creatures that we deem dark, sometimes it is not dark per se. It depends. Symbolisms can be a bit of a.
Yeah,
it
but
depends on
this, from the
context.
sound of it, this
Exactly.
one wasn't.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
about 15 years ago, but I remember it like it was today because I woke up and I could still feel them. 5 minutes after, you're like, ooh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so these two, they're not fire questions, but I do like to ask. I do like to ask this question: what was a pivotal moment in your life? Why don't you use that, Debbie?
Oh. Do you know what happened with my kids? Each one, yeah.
Oh wow.
Yep.
Why was it a?
I think because I didn't want kids. There was a period in my life where I was like, oh my gosh, the trauma I went through, I couldn't imagine putting a child through that.
Yeah.
And then you have your own, and it's like, well,
Daunting.
yeah, I made this, we made this. You're just
Yeah.
looking at this child, and you're like, I know you, but I don't know you, and just everything that's brought each child has just been just an experience.
So for the record, so how many do you have?
4.
You got 4,
Mhm.
and was each different different experience?
Entirely, yeah. Different pregnancies, different births, different child. Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
literally. Honestly.
Oh my gosh. Okay, and the last question is, what's something that you wish you had known 10 years ago?
Gosh, how fast was 10 years? Is that? What year was that? What year? What?
Slow down.
Slow down.
Yeah, don't be in a rush to go through life.
Okay.
Save every moment, I think in the last 5 years, I've done that a lot with my family. And
Yeah.
I've just realised that you can miss out a lot if you're in a rush to kind of achieve so much. So
Yeah.
I've slowed right down. But yeah, I would have told myself that 10 years ago,
Just keep it,
yeah,
take your
chill,
time.
relax. Take time.
It's okay.
Yeah. Being patient with yourself.
Yeah.
Because I think that the older we're getting, the more you're learning.
Mhm.
And you're thinking, shoot. If I just chilled, take a seat back, a moment as it comes.
Mm.
You know, understand the moment rather than, because I think sometimes you kind of panic when you're getting into difficult situations.
Yeah.
And then you're stuck in that situation for so long.
Yeah.
And then when you get on the other side of it, you're thinking, if only I just learn to breathe.
Yeah.
Breathe and be patient, take one day at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything in particular that you kind of felt like I rushed this? Like I didn't have to, you know, go into it so quickly, or if I could do things differently, then
Gosh, if I could do anything different, I just think it's probably maybe when G was born.
yeah.
That's my daughter, by the way. And I think it's you know, you have expectations over yourself,
Yeah.
and I think I had a lot of expectations on myself, and I think I was so hard on myself.
Yeah.
And getting to this part of life now, I'm thinking, you know what, you'd have been okay
Yeah.
just to take it easy on yourself.
Yeah.
Take a day as it came.
Yeah.
Just, you know, savor the moment, enjoy
Yeah.
the child, and even though I did enjoy her, but then there's a lot more things I thought I wish I could have done.
Yeah.
You know, I wish I'd done more things than just sit and try to worry about what life is going to be like,
Yeah.
and or even not even thinking about life, because I think I was just stuck in this moment.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. We definitely deep dive into that a little bit more as well. I just wanted to ask you, Debbie, because you've got 4 kids. How far apart are they?
The first 2 are exactly 2 years apart, and then it's 3 years, and then 3.5.
Yeah.
So yeah, 2,
4 under 12.
2, 5, 8 and 10.
4 under 12.
Huh? 4 under 10.
4 under 10.
Yeah.
Why do I always think that? God.
Oh my gosh. And earlier you were saying that you went through certain things in your life, and that was a little bit like daunting to now have your own. Did you see any of that transpire into, or even try to transpire into?
Yeah, it was more like their parenting. Like my mum's she's an amazing woman, but she was a single parent, and there were certain ways that she would kind of be angry, and there were just certain things that I just didn't want to bring into my own home.
Yeah.
And it's only when you're in that position and you kind of like you react a certain way, and you're like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And it was especially with Tiffany, my first.
Yeah.
And then when I would encounter it, I'd be speaking to my husband like, oh, I can feel that anger and I don't like it. And it used to kind of make me cry a lot.
Was she angry at you?
So my mum would be angry, just angry at life, angry at my dad.
And then take it out
and unknowingly take it out. And
Yeah.
we know that now because we've done our due diligence in therapy, reading books and reflection and whatnot. But honestly, I just had to like take a lot to God in prayer, and really, it's not just praying; it's active. So, how can I, if I do feel this anger, how do I not do that to my child? If that makes sense. And honestly, like complete transformation in that aspect.
Yeah.
And even with the additional children, it's like I'm learning now. So what Tiffany may have experienced, the second didn't, the third hasn't,
Yeah.
the fourth hasn't. If that makes sense. And
yeah, because sometimes I feel like as kids, it's like you feel the kind of brunt of what your parents are going through. Because you know, like even when you talk about discipline and stuff, sometimes it's, are you beating your child because you're angry, or are you beating your child because you're like disciplining them? And I feel like a lot of kids have experienced just like the anger, especially if you come from like a single parenthood. It's like the frustration and the anger, and the child kind of takes it all.
Or the fear as well.
Yeah.
You know, like when a child's running across the road, for example,
Yeah.
and there's cars coming and the parent drags them up. And starts like, I told you! Yeah, no, beat the child. It's like, oh! You know, and they were
Like
just
I did.
innocently going across the road.
Yeah.
So they do it out of fear as well. But yeah, you do feel the brunt of it.
Oh my god.
You feel the tension.
you're like,
Yeah.
how many
Where's
times?
the mirror?
I know.
I just think it's sometimes taken from what you're saying, sometimes it's the way our parents disciplined us, or they relate. I don't think it's more to do with discipline, it's how they related to us. It all depends on how they grew up.
Yeah.
And then because we never really understood how they grew up,
Yeah.
so we don't, when they're acting the way they acted until now we've grown, you've gone into therapy, you've been reading about things, and you start understanding, it's like, you know what, it wasn't really her fault why she acted like that.
Yeah.
That takes
You start-
maturity though.
This is what we're saying.
Yeah.
Now we're growing and thinking, it ain't that
You
bad
realise
after
that they're
all.
a product of their own childhood.
Exactly,
And
you know what I
then-
mean? I think I fell in love with my mom 10 years after her death.
Oh, wow.
I did not like my mother at all.
Oh, for real?
We had a terrible relationship, me and my mom. And it's after 10 years after her death, I remember, I can't really remember exactly what I was listening to. But then the part of it that got to me was people love the best way they know how. Because we want to be loved a certain way, but they don't know the way we want to be loved. Because that's what they've learned, because that's what they're coming out from.
Yeah.
And like you're saying, it's when you're shouting at your children, you can hear your mom in your head. It's like, gosh, I sound like my mom. I was doing that with my sister. So you're trying to correct someone, but then you're almost sounding like your own mother. And then that's when it's like,
the thing that you want to avoid.
The thing that you don't want to be. That's when it's like, oh, but yeah. So it's always people love the best way they know how.
Yeah. How did you find therapy? Did you go and any of us went therapy?
No.
You went therapy?
Kind of therapy, yeah.
Take it
Talking to my husband.
Okay.
Yeah, I've done a therapy counselling course.
Yeah.
So it is more self-therapy, but it's therapy regardless.
But you have to be self-aware to do
yeah.
that. And I think earlier there was an episode that I did and we was talking about accepting like your circumstance. And I think until you accept it, then you're not going to have that self-awareness to be like, actually, I need help. Like, I need to speak out because I'm bottling all of this up. So how did you find that?
Do you know what? I think just journaling. So I read a lot of books, a lot. So a lot of the stuff I've learned has been through like childhood trauma books and kind of mirroring and reflecting on my childhood. Why did I react this way? Oh, this is why my mum acted the way she reacted. And taking what I need from what I'm reading, what I'm seeing, the YouTube videos that I'm watching, speaking to other mums that have gone, or other people that have gone through the same. There are some really strong women in my life that when I do feel like I'm struggling, I can pick up the phone and they know what to say. And just kind of adapting what I'm learning to myself. And one of the biggest things I've learned is honestly, in terms of my parenting and how I parent my kids, is pause. So even before I retaliate, before I say anything, before I count to 10,
I'm already at 5.
Honestly, because if I don't, I'm lashing out. And if I pause,
It's like
and I do that. Okay, right. What do you want? What's going on? You know, I come down to the level, and that's what I do now. So you're not gonna. I try not to. There's times like if my child is running across the road, that goes out the window.
Time to count.
And I'm screaming. And I'm like,
no,
it's do or die.
It's a reaction moment,
but when
isn't
like
it?
the kids are arguing, because we're getting to that stage now, 8, 10, 5-year-old. And there's a lot of bickering, there's a lot of arguing, and you just want to scream sometimes.
Especially
Be
before.
like, be quiet. And that doesn't, you just get this look of fear, like, you know. If I'm like, right, start with the Shiloh. She's 5. Okay, what are you feeling? Like, what's going on? And she will speak. And then
it's crazy because at that young age they can like articulate.
they can,
themselves.
surprisingly, if you know what to ask them. And then speak to each of them, come down to their level, communicate on their level as well. There's no point me speaking to a 5-year-old like she's 10. You're just not going to get anywhere. And then kind of talk them through. And that's another tip. Talking. I talk their heads off. Like I'll talk.
But you know what? It's interesting because I remember I was having a discussion with a group of friends and we was talking about discipline. And what my friend was saying is like her parents used to like sit her down and literally talk and to the point where it's just like it's just like and it works sometimes because it's like when you get called for another meeting you have to sit down and listen to it. It's like rah, okay. I get it. But did you like how did you find that transition? Like how did you find it so that it doesn't affect you? Like yes, you've read the books and like you had your husband as that support. What was that willpower? What was that, in you that was like, you know what, I don't want to, be like that or experience that?
Breaking like generational curses. Breaking the trauma. Like it stops with me as much as possible. Like I know that there's going to be certain things that I'm not going to do right with my kids. I'm not, it's just life. But where I can stop the trauma, where I can stop something passing on to them, I will. And that's a big driving force. And really wanting them to be who God has created them to be individually. Like I have my desires for them, but honestly, that might not be God's plan. It's not their plan. And when I say like slow down, in what I mentioned it earlier, you begin to realize more about them, their desires, their skills, what they're good at, what they're not good at, what I might be forcing them to do that they don't want to do, and just juggling all of that kind of together. And like moving forward with them. But yeah, I'll definitely say wanting to break generational curses and not bring that trauma into another generation.
How did you know, like, this is a generational curse that I need to break? Like, because not everybody will have that awareness or in their faith to be like, hey, this is something that is just continuous, you know? Like, I remember I met a lady and there's so much death, like, in her family. And it's like, it's like her brother-in-law is dying, her husband is in hospital, so it's like this continuous. And at that point, I'm thinking, that's a spell of death there.
But then it all goes back to what you believe in. Your belief, isn't it? Because for you to know about generational curses, you got to be believing in God, really. Isn't it? To say there's certain things that can't keep on going, that keep on happening in your lives, and it's constantly
cycles.
Exactly, cycles that keep on happening over and over again in your lives. All the women, all the ladies in our family are not married.
Which is what happened in so
you know,
sitting down with both. So if you're married or you'll get into a relationship, find out as much about each other's family. So we realise that we're meant
that dating life is like, there's some questions to
ask you. I'm not saying that I'm not going to marry you, but we need to know.
We need to know what it is. You need to be prepared.
Is it a health thing? Is it like none of the women on my mom's side were married, and in fact the men have got married and now divorced, and my grandma divorced but remarried, so there's like a really strong most of them had first children outside of wedlock. Not all of them did, sorry.
Majority.
I feel like I'm exposing my family now. I do have a great family, don't get me wrong. So like, and then my husband understanding, there might be a similar trend on his side. There may not be, so we know, number one, that there may be an attack on our marriage as well. But that's really definitely helped, kind of like you have to communicate with the other half. You can't just rush into a relationship without understanding what, even if you're not like a Christian, just do your due diligence, ask the questions.
I don't think people like
health. You could find diabetes, you could find hypertension. There's a lot of things that you need to know about. Then you'll have to know how to eat and also how to look after yourself. So
I didn't know I was a carrier until I think the church told us to do tests before we got married, and I was like, wait, like mum? And she was like, it's not for me. I'm so done. I called my dad, and my dad was like,
she denied it. She was like,
I'm a carrier, and you and one of your other sisters. And then I called that sister. She was like, did you know you're a carrier?
Never told you.
We didn't know. And then Sam then had to get tested, because if we then have children,
of course,
there is thankfully he's not, but I have passed the trait down to one of the children. So she's gonna need to,
How was that? Like, so when you found out, like, I'm a carrier, because I don't think there's enough education around sickle cell anyway. But then how did that hit you, and how did you feel when it's like, okay, and then potentially I could pass it down, and then you kind of did that?
There was that initial fear, like, oh my gosh, what if Sam is like a carrier, like that? What does that mean for our kids? Because we do know a few family friends who suffer badly with sickle cell, and know some people that have passed. But it was very short term, because Sam very quickly got his own results and it came back, he was clear. But it's always kind of like, fear does always try and creep in. But we've got the blood of Jesus. I still did research though, because I realised, okay, I'm anemic, and there is potentially a link between low iron and being a sickle cell carrier, and what that could mean. And I still do research here and there now for it, so that I can at least educate the child that does have. She doesn't have it, she's carrying it. Because like I said, if she falls in love with a guy that's a carrier, then
it's
a lot of prayer and fasting. But
it's true though, like those questions like health, because it's a big thing, and it's a big responsibility to place on someone as well. So I think it's like being open and transparent. Like, this is my life, and this is what I come with. Are you okay with that?
Early as well.
But they're like difficult conversations.
They are, but they get mature enough to have those conversations. Because I'm taking mental notes. I'm like,
it's like, what do you think we're going to anything afford to talk about.
What do you mean?
Talk about.
And they're
So
not
have
going
you ever
away.
dealt with anything like this in your life?
You guys are doing
Your family?
interviews.
No. So your parents, how's their health? What are you predisposed to? Because it might not show now.
What's your
Sure, later.
background like? Oh god, it reminds me of Creflo Dollar. Remember that preaching when he's like, when
What
you
is
go
your credit check
Yeah,
like?
what's your credit check?
Oh
like,
my
yeah,
God.
You got debt. What's your mom and daddy like?
Debts. Yeah, that's.
There's
a
a
lot.
lot to unpack when it's relationship wise if we're going down that direction, but having to know a lot more. It's like hiding things. I guess you can say because it's a bigger topic that you don't really want to delve into very early.
but
It's not going away. No,
Yeah.
it's not going
But
away.
you know what my mum says? It's like when you first start dating someone, that's the best time to ask them questions.
Exactly.
Because
Yeah.
There isn't that like.
Attachment.
No
You don't
connection,
know how to feel bad. Because now you've gone and fallen in love with each other. And it's like, yo, yeah.
It's okay. I'll love you like that.
Yeah.
Until things get worse.
That's reckless.
I'd gone to uni and I'd pick, small debt. I remember the first when I told Sam, I was crying. I was like, oh. And it was, I was building it up. I've got something to tell you, but I didn't know
Oh
to
my
tell you.
gosh.
It was when I say the tiniest little bill that I hadn't paid, and he just looked at me like,
Are you alright?
"Is that it?"
No, but it's a thing.
I feel like
Literally.
financial topics and transparency and vulnerability is a lot harder for me to even discuss and share
Yeah.
over health issues or like
Really?
Yeah, I do. I think there's a lot of trauma there from when I was
Okay.
younger and how
Yeah.
I was treated with money with my parents and how they entrusted me with money and stuff. A lack of education on
Yeah.
money. My parents obviously they were immigrants. They didn't
Yeah.
know much. Schools don't teach you anything
No.
about it. So I literally had just no education whatsoever, and no trust from my parents and money. So I remember even going into my mum's bag, for example, she
Yeah.
will be watching me like a hawk. I don't know where this stigma came from, but it
It
was
was
almost I felt like a thief. I was like, you told me to go inside your bag. She wouldn't even leave me with a credit card or something. So if she needed money,
Oh my gosh.
yeah. But I saw how she treated my younger siblings when it came to money, and she trusted them more. Both of my parents
Really?
trusted
That's
them more.
interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, I wasn't a bad child,
That stuck with
and I never,
you.
it really stuck with me. So I kind of was just with money, it was kind of hush hush. You don't talk about it. Very sensitive about that situation. So yeah, I would be mortified
Yeah.
if someone asked me on a
Really?
date. I'd be like,
You'd be like, why do you want to know?
I'd be like, why do you want to know how much I make? What
Why
do you
do
need
you
to
wanna
know?
It's like Secret Service how
But
much
because
people
of that, I also want to have I don't know if it's a pressure that I'm putting on myself, but I want to make sure that
You're fine.
I'm
Like you're
fine.
good.
No,
You're
just
patterned.
I'm patterned before I even get into a relationship, so that they
But
don't
you-
start sending those letters. No.
Let's start coming through the house.
Through the door, like, where did this
babe,
come from? Could you
what
know
is
you're
this?
married? Yeah, let's
Can't
start.
hide anything.
Can't hide nothing.
No, literally.
Mate, why is
Be
Summer
running to the door
Council,
to get the
when we
letters.
live in Chelsea, why is Summer Council chasing us for this bill? I'm like, I don't know.
Oh
No, but apparently, if you don't respond to them for 6 years or so, a few years,
Yeah.
then
Wow.
stop. They give up.
No.
Did they now?
No, but I think dating is so different to now, probably than because you've been married how long now?
I think this is year 14.
You're 14. So I'm pretty sure dating
Lost count.
then is so different to now. Did you have those conversations with Sam when you first? Because you was.
We did,
Okay.
but I look back now and I realise just how young we were,
Yeah.
especially him. And I'm like, wow, yeah, because you
taking
guys
us
knew.
back.
You
I
knew.
was like, you're taking us
I
back right
literally
now.
You knew.
Oh,
So like, if
taking
I
us
said how old
back.
he was then, he was young, but he carried himself
So
so
maturely.
mature, older than me.
Yeah, he's very mature.
I think we would do a lot different, definitely, and would have had even more conversations because we've gone through everything that you would in your early 20s
Yeah.
and late 20s together,
Yeah.
which has had its hardships, but yeah, I still wouldn't change anything.
And I think as well, it's different, I guess, when you're dating and when you get married because you joint. So it's everything, like you said, there's no secret, there's nowhere to hide. So it's you're forced almost to enter into those difficult spaces, living together, finding out new things. It's oh my god.
Nothing prepares you for it. I would say dating, nothing compared to marriage. When you're married, it's I didn't know this about you. I've never seen this side of you. why do you
People
leave
say
that
this.
there? And, yeah,
I
like,
suppose to say you have a way, your own way of living.
Yeah.
And then somebody else comes into your personal space.
Completely
like,
different.
come on.
And it's the other way as well. I still
Exactly.
have habits that, you know, Sam, like, we're two different people when it comes to certain things. And
Yeah.
for years, I'd be like, you're just weird. Like, you know. Yeah, like, Sam, when it comes to certain stuff, he's like, I'm very much, you know, he has his own,
Certain
like,
way.
toothpaste, for example. Whereas for me, I'm like, we share toothpaste. Not toothbrushes or
Really?
Yeah,
I
I
was
was
like
like
that.
that. So in when growing up, we shared that kind of stuff.
Of course, you have one
Yeah,
toothpaste
yeah.
in the
But
bathroom,
with
isn't
him,
it?
it's different. And I just used to look at him like, there's something wrong with you. But then I just,
OCD?
no, it's not even OCD, because he's not like particular, but he's
Okay.
like,
It's just
he
his
knows
own.
why he wants to have his own stuff, and it's mostly because of the kids. But I still thought it was weird,
Men
because
are
you know
so
what kids
funny.
are like. They'll be eating the toothpaste and then put it back, and he's very much, he doesn't like
it's true.
germs.
Oh my god.
But I used to look at him like, no, that's weird, you know. But there's loads of stuff that we do that's different. But now, honestly, you just go to accept it,
Yeah.
and you just work around it, and you just realise that some things are just not worth fighting over. It's all
Yeah.
just like, yeah. Anyway, babes,
Moving
you
on.
know, pick it up when you're ready. But yeah.
Yeah. It's a different mindset, isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah, I think it's maturity as well. Like you have to mature in. Then you
I think
can.
sometimes you might trip, sorry,
No,
because
go
of
on,
circumstances, isn't it?
She's like, this is a lot.
It's the circumstances, just like I was saying, like things when you started asking, like, what would you have done 10 years ago differently? It's like that. It's
Yeah.
a growing process. Someone can tell you having children, oh, it's this. But when you have children, it's totally different. And children
Yeah.
are different. Every child is different. How you raise your child and how I raise mine, totally different.
Yeah.
How your child is and how mine is,
Mhm.
totally. It's like almost like learning on the job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything is like, life is like learning on the job. You're
Yeah,
constantly
literally.
learning. And I think that's another thing about life, just going into life, willing to learn every day.
Yeah.
That's just, you're
You
constantly
have to be
learning
willing to
something.
learn. You
Yeah.
have to be a good student.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to be a good student of life. You're gonna be leaving us in a minute
I know.
shortly. Is there anything that you would do differently? You know, with just your journey and like your life in general.
Apart from what I said earlier, which is to kind of like slow down.
Yeah.
Probably be more patient as well in my marriage,
Yeah.
especially with Sam, because obviously the kids are going to grow up one day, they're going to leave home, and I want to be face to face with my husband.
Yeah.
And I don't, you know,
Your husband.
when your kids come into the mix, 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4, the other person, you could get irritated a lot more,
Mhm.
and you just become more judgmental to that person. Extend more grace, to be
Yeah.
honest, more patience to that person, because they're also going through their own process as well as you. It's not just about what I feel as a woman, it's also
Yeah.
what he's experiencing as a man. You know, we all go through transitions,
Yeah.
and it's so easy to kind of amplify your own over what the other person is.
Yeah.
And you know, some of you guys know what my husband has kind of battled behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So I would have definitely said, like, give this guy patience,
Yeah.
and wait, and you'll see the product of what God had intended all
Yeah.
along.
And do you feel like with anything that you kind of went through, like you received like a healing, and like if you did, like how did you receive that healing?
Did I receive healing?
Yeah.
Throughout, honestly, when people say like, oh, God has seen me through, it is only him every step of the way, be it with childbirth, the trauma that we go through in life, whether it's, you know, you lose a job or a health issue, or the kids are ill, or whatever's happened. I think God has really showed his hand, even when I felt like, where are you in this situation? Just staying faithful, holding on to his promises, remembering that he really will never leave us and forsake us, and that if we're feeling distant from him, it's me, it's not him.
It's not
It's not
Yeah.
me, it's not him.
Yeah.
Understanding that life is life, we can't escape it,
Yeah.
and there will be
You literally
seasons
can't.
where there's going to be like, we're going to feel the
Adulting.
closeness, and we're going to feel a bit,
Distant.
far.
Yeah.
Like those of us that have had kids, know the change that happens when you have a child. Like, you don't have as much time
Yeah.
to give to God,
yourself.
and then you feel guilt, like, oh God, I'm not spending as much time with you. How is this going to impact my walk? But honestly, just understanding that he's with me in every situation.
situation.
When I'm folding, when I'm cooking,
Ironing,
when I'm
cooking,
cleaning
school run.
nappies, when I'm being vomited all over. He is there in that, not just on the pulpit or on the podcast. He's there, you know,
Step of the way.
He's so
every step of the way.
Oh,
Yeah,
It's closer
thank
to
you
the
so
floor.
much.
yeah.
It's closer to the floor.
Oh, thank you. It's
Make me
been-
want to lay out.
Where's the soaking music?
I know. No, it's been amazing having you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
I'm
thank
so
you so
sad
much.
about that.
I know.
Motherhood.
She's leaving us.
Children.
Yeah, for the children, that is motherhood. But no, thank you so much, and we should definitely sit down some more.
Definitely.
Damn.